It's spring week 11 here in Apothecaria, and in the second part of this three-part episode, Mistress Sweetwater takes Bess along for some reagent collection inside Blastfire Bog, and they have an adventure. Hey there everyone, welcome to Drawing Expressions. I'm Parz, and we are in week 11, the final week of this Apothecaria story. And yeah, so hopefully you watched the first part, and this is part 2, and of course part 3, because there is a 3-part series, will be coming along next time. So before we get into all of that, let's first get into the things I like to talk about, like guidelines. Guidelines. They are always here, never fail. They bend, they don't break. Just a couple of reasons why I like guidelines. In the planner section today, it's the same planner section as always. It's creative mixing bowl, it's the narration, it's how did it all come together. In the pantser section, we're going to be talking about prompts we love to hate and prompts we hate to love. And you're going to see why in this particular narration. Yeah, you'll see. And before we get into anywhere else, let's do some breathing and stretching, shall we? Yes, thank you. Okay, here we go. Take a nice deep breath. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Deep breath in. Stretch. There we go. And you may notice each of these little stretchy sessions. Sometimes they're a little bit different. Sometimes they're more the same. Just stretch to your heart's content. And if you don't want to do the stretch I'm doing, do one of your own. But do try to stretch. It's good for you. Okay. Let's just kind of jump right in, shall we? Okay. Talking to myself a lot. Nobody here. Just me. And you. That said, here we go. Mistress? Francie's voice wasn't its usual bright and bubbly tone. Instead, it was rushed and uncertain. I stepped out and greeted her. Hi, Francie. Between being out of breath and her lips trying to produce the right sounds, nothing that she said in reply made sense. I invited her in. Francie froze on the doorstep. Oh, I didn't know you were curing someone already. I interrupted. She's a friend, not a patient. Please sit down, catch your breath, and when you're ready, I'll ask Bess to give us some privacy. Francie did sit, but also started talking. Oh, it's not me who's ill. It's Mrs. Ruffage. My mistress, Madame Hightower, believes something is wrong at the school, the herbology school. No one's leaving. That confused me. I'd seen Mrs. Ruffage at the town listening to Bess play not too long ago. I shared that with Francie. My mistress says students haven't stepped foot outside the door ever since a boy was attacked the other day. Bitten in a painful way is what she says, and even Mrs. Ruffage doesn't come and go the way she used to. It's far more guarded now, my mistress says. Thinking back, I hadn't seen any students from the school at the Copper Fox, and I'd spent enough time there to know that they hadn't been there. So your mistress believes Mrs. Ruffage is keeping them inside? Yes. Oh, it's so hard for me to understand, but you've got it, I think. That was weird, but plausible. What if Mrs. Ruffage had been suffering from a slowly developing case of hoarding? But not hoarding in general. It was very specific. People. If you substitute gold for people, you'd assume it's a dragon. So maybe this is dragon sickness? The school had slowly but surely been keeping students closer and closer to the school, and now it seems Mouse Eyes' biting of the boy had triggered the disease to more fully manifest. And it was quite possible Mrs. Ruffage had also suffered a triggering experience that was now keeping her in the school. I could put a potion together. That was the easy part. The hard part would be getting her to drink it. And if it turned out I was wrong, getting out of the school building could get tricky. After a minute of considering things, I decided on a course of action. Francie, please tell your mistress that I'm on the case, and if it pleases her, I'll come by her house before I enter the school. She repeated my message a couple of times, then headed off. Bess, meanwhile, had been quiet by not talking, was asking via body language what I was up to. You feel like seeing Blastfire Bog in all its boggy glory? So long as it doesn't involve flying, I'm in. Which is how Bess and I ended up at Kunks's dock to pick up and set sail and miss Bogfire. But our coming here alone wasn't without controversy. Marvin wanted to, and I quote, look at something other than a pasture. But since things can be a bit sketchy, especially the bog, I thought it best that he not come. Mouse Eye said he should come because, and I quote, again, you get lost in the bog as soon as you put the coracle into the water. Which, okay, I admit I do get turned around in there from time to time, but I figured I'd be okay. I absolutely wasn't trying, again, to show off to Bess that I could take care of myself, and it was absolutely along the same lines that I warned Bess about Kunk being a bog goblin. He's a what? A bog goblin, who's quite nice and brilliant at making boats. Ah, right, she said doubtfully. Soon enough, she met him. Ha, you come, friend come, good, good. Once we had Miss Bogfire underway, Bess said, never in a million years would I have believed there's a civilized bog goblin. Never. But I guess you learn something new every day. Talk about learning something new every day. As we rode and landed and picked and rode again, oddly enough, idle chatter stops to start when rowing doesn't stop starting. And after harvesting a bit of silverleaf, it's much easier gathering reagents in the fresh air and bright of the bog instead of the stale air and darkness of the dungeon. We heard something roaring. It wasn't anything alive that was making the noise, which frankly just made the sound worse. Unidentifiable roars should be considered, as a rule, to be bad, and if it gets louder, it's worse. It got worse. Bess and I paddled back towards the island we just left in the interests of safety, security, and being able to run for our lives if the need arose. We waited, watched, and listened as the roar became deafening. And then, shooting around a channel, came a boat. A large boat, with a huge fan on the back of it that seemed to propel the boat more over the water than through it. And steering this roaring fan boat thing was a crocodile. Kind of. It was like a human had had relations with a croc, and this was the product of their love. A love full of trust, no doubt, in order for this particular love to exist. Or maybe it had been a human male who'd become a meal right after birds and bees' time had ended. Disturbing when you think of it that way. Anyway, a crocodile person. And not dressed as a crocodile is dressed, which is to say, not at all, but instead he was wearing these odd blue clothes, the like of which I'd never seen before. Bess managed to find out they're called denim, and that they're the biggest fashion hit in the crocodile people community since polyester, whatever that is. As to how Bess got the opportunity to ask, when the fan boat came flying around the channel, Grins at Food, the name of the crocodile man, spotted us, then immediately cut the engine to float up to us. He grinned. Thankfully, I didn't know his name yet. Ladies, hey, how are you? I haven't seen such beauty on the water since last year's flower festival. So, what you up to? Bess and I just looked at each other and started giggling. It was Bess who answered. We're doing a bit of ingredient hunting. My friend's a witch. Are you now? Cool, cool. Say, I'm sure you're getting along just fine, and I have nothing against Kunks's custom coracles, and tell him from me that if he still is refusing to use that name for his business, he's leaving money on the table. But what you need is a little bit of horsepower. Bemused, I said, where are the horses? Do they do well in a bog? Grins at Food just laughed at me. Ah, nah, babe. All the horses I need are in this baby, he said as he patted the huge metal engine. Bess leaned over and whispered in my ear, Let me handle him. He's close enough to being a typical lounge lizard that I've got his measure. You navigate and we'll be done quickly. You okay with that? I nodded, and with that, we were off. The roar of the boat was obscene. It was difficult to hear myself think, let alone hear what anyone else was saying. Yuck. However, we were able to get from place to place far faster than in Miss Bogfire. On our way to a location I knew had a grove of nurse willows, for the surgeon sap it oozes out, I spotted some mushrooms. Now, these mushrooms, despite not being full-sized, still rose over my head. We took a couple of mushroom caps, and in the process filled a lot of the free space in the boat. While Bess and Grins, and by now I did know his name, worked to arrange the caps, I spotted a snake. And an opportunity. You see, a snake's promise is one of the most powerful reagents you can harvest. For one thing, it requires a wand. For another, snakes have no incentive to keep a promise. I brought Sarah, so I had the things I'd need. What was needed now was a promise and something to trade so that it'd keep its word. Greetings, snake. I'm Mr. Sweetwater. Its hooded lids considered me. Greetings, human. I wish to trade. I wish to fly, but not all wishes are granted. I'd like a promise from you in exchange for... What would you like? To fly? That's doable. Indeed. What then shall I promise? I have an idea. Do keep me in suspense. What if you promise, once you've flown, to never return to the bog? And why would I promise such a thing? I like the bog. But wouldn't you rather be up in the clouds? You can live in the Cloud Isles. Indeed. Let me consider it. The snake was negotiating hard. It had spotted that the mushroom caps were settled and that we were ready to go. I tried again. Are the Cloud Isles not a place for you? It regarded me again. I have no idea, so why would I agree to live there? Would you like to live in safety and comfort, be unmolested as you molt, and eat your fill as you will in my cottage? I'll fly, and in return I'll live happily in your cottage, and promise to never return to the bog. Yes, agreed. I had the wand ready, so as the snake said, agreed, the words became a mist, and the mist turned lavender and was absorbed by Sarah. I picked up Slow Slither, her name, draped her around my neck, and we headed off. Bess flashed me a look. I returned a shrug. You are crazy, girl, she said as she shook her head. Well, I'd hoped to gather some silverleaf in the bog, an impatient serpent began to get on the nerves of a flirtatious crocodile man. When shall I fly? Today, maybe. By tomorrow, definitely. Hey, babe, check out the wake this boss machine can throw. Sorry, when did you say I can fly? As I said, today or tomorrow. I can get the engine screaming loud and drown out most everything else. Are we any closer to flying? And so on. Grins was grinning at Slow. Slow was anything but at getting under Grins's skin, and Bess and I started holding our collective breath. Bess wisely intervened. Say, Grins, you've been a big help to my friend and I, but we have to be getting back, obligations and all. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I'll zip us over to your dinky goblin barge and then you can make your own way out, 'cause, I don't want to offend your slithery friend, or whatever. The engine's roar helped keep an awkward silence from manifesting, but it couldn't keep the reek of a fronted reptile from permeating the boat. Maybe it didn't take eons to get back to Miss Bogfire, but it sure felt like it did. When we did pull up to the coracle, I was afraid a quite surly croc might throw the mushroom caps overboard by throwing and deliberately missing the coracle. It didn't happen, owing, I believe, to Bess's stroking his ego and making suggestions that the caps were probably too unwieldy to be moved carefully from boat to boat. Grins rose to the challenge. Sort of. He hefted the mushroom caps over his head and tossed them into Miss Bogfire. The second cap totally filled her. Okay, well, there you go. Bess and I tried to figure out how we were going to fit into the coracle. It didn't look good. Are you sure you can't give us a tow to Kunks's dock? Bess tried valiantly, but to no avail. Sorry, babe, no can do. Gotta rock and roll. But if you're ever in the area again, look me up and maybe we can hang out. 'Cause, once you crock it, you'll never knock it, 'cause we know how to rock it. Bess and I gingerly, tentatively got on board, keeping a tenuous balance. Grins roared off. Thankfully, the wake didn't topple us. You wouldn't happen to have a plan to get us home safely, do you? Bess asked hopefully. Not yet, let me think. I'd hoped Mouse Eye would suddenly appear, but if he was going to show up, it hadn't happened yet. And I figured Marvin suddenly showing up would increase our problems, not solve any. Would summoning Vapor Trail help? Yes, yes! I reached out mentally and got back something on the order of, your location is outside of my service area. Right. How's it going? Bess, to her credit, was holding it together. Maybe not well, but kudos to managing it as well as she was. Working on it, I said distantly. I remembered Sarah. I held her up, focused, and entered the Wands' realm. I found myself standing in front of the lone tree on the hill. The figure of Sarah was some distance away with her back to me. This felt important to solve on my own. I chose to not go to the figure and instead to stay with the tree. The tree. The tree I'd been inside, felt roots reaching out, touching other roots. That, I thought, was the start of the answer. I approached the tree, touched it, even hugged it. Still, I was separate and apart from the tree. Be the tree. Be yourself, said Sarah's voice from behind me. I breathed, focused, and without stepping, entered. The sensations changed, but were also so familiar. But I was focused on reaching out, feeling the information network within the web of roots. I was a witch, and a tree, and a message traveling along and outward, looking for help. Help answered. And then I opened my eyes and saw Bess looking at me. Help's on the way. A relieved smile was her only answer. We waited for a few minutes. You call for the broom? Bess asked. I tried her, but no dice. No, this is help from a different place. Oh. We started chatting about mostly nothing, trying to pass the time, which may be why it took a minute to realize that the coracle was moving slowly, gently, but definitely in the right general direction. Looking down, we saw the bogs' plant life, weeds, reeds, grasses, undulating, in wave-like harmony. It was hard staying still, maintaining balance while the bog itself propelled us towards salvation. We ugly cried in relief. Slow Slither, meanwhile, peeked out from under the mushroom caps. We fly soon, yes? Between sniffles and gulps of air and aching laughter from the question so disconnected from our recent trouble, I managed, yes, although tomorrow is looking far more likely. Figures, she said, then slunk back to the bottom of the boat. Bess shot me a quizzical look. I hadn't explained things yet, so I did. And she sat there looking bemused. Remember how I said that if I ever tell this tale, I'd have to tone it down a bit to make it believable? I gave a sheepish smile and shrugged. Sorry? Oh, don't apologize. Let me put it this way. You're giving me so much material, an absolute embarrassing amount of material, that I'll be set for life telling fresh tales to the end of my days. Say, speaking of, there's something I want to share. Whatever it was she wanted to tell me got interrupted as we rounded a last corner. Hey, you move. No splash. No work. Move how? Kunk, standing at the end of the dock, peered at us coming closer. I carefully waved. He seemed to ignore it, or at least not see it. Minutes later, the coracle bumped gently into the dock. Kunk studied the boat as we stepped out. You move! Move how? I shrugged. We needed help, so I guess I asked the bog. Kunk looked again and apparently saw the undulations of the plant life. Ha! Bog paddle for you! Boggy paddle! Ha! Bess's lips rolled up, stifling a laugh. Nearly stifling. Boggy paddle, she repeated with a pained groan from a bit of wordplay. Kunk, can you keep these mushrooms safe until I can retrieve them? No, we'll take. You go. They come. That was unexpected. Thank you. Can I offer you something in exchange? Yes. I wasn't sure what to say, so I asked what he might like. Later, not now. Right. That was something to work out later. For now, it was time to get back. And that is the end of the second part of a 3-part series. Don't know about you, but I'm ready for a little bit of breathing and stretching. So let's do some breathing and stretching. Shall we? Let's. Okay. Take a nice deep breath in. Here we go. And stretch. And remember that your stretch the second time through can be the same as the first, or it can be different. One or the other, or both if you can manage it. Okay, so let's talk about how this episode came together. And the first part is going to be the prompts. Now, we saw it last time, the prompt list, but I'm going to show it again. And here we go. So 3, 2, 1. Boom. Okay. So the in-depth stuff. So this is going to be in-depth stuff specific to this week. And specific to this particular episode is what I meant to say. Okay. So really I'm going to focus on the prompt for the crocodile person inside the motorboat. So the prompt itself was listed as a denim-wearing crocodile person in a motorboat, and they make fun of you in your coracle. Well, actually, they make fun of your coracle. And so, yeah, that was the prompt that I think this is actually like the prompt that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And where Alicia and I said, you know, we're done with Apothecaria. We're done with these big prompts with the details. And it just so happens that this particular prompt with these particular set of details does not really fit in well with the look and feel of Apothecaria. And so, yeah, this was the one that I think did it, where just like, no more. We're going to make our own. And so we'll be talking more about that in couple episodes. Yeah, because this is 2, and then so I'm going to do part 3, and then epilogue, and then that video after that we start to introduce Pip's World. But yeah, this was the prompt that had us thinking, yeah, we're done with Apothecaria. But that said, I'm glad we used it. I'm glad I used it. Because it worked. It worked well. Having a kind of a teenage, young adult male, despite the fact they're a crocodile, hitting on human women who've just discovered their true loves to each other. It was funny. I thought it was just hysterical. So yeah, in it went. So let's talk about what's been written before. So we have Kunk and the bog goblin who makes boats, and I did specifically want to mention him because again we're closing out the series, and it's been a while since we brought him up. Also a bunch of other names that get mentioned: Francie, Mrs. Ruffage, Madame Hightower. Again, trying to push all these people from very early on in the series forward, so that as I close things out, as many people as I can are mentioned. Okay, and the wand Sarah. So we talked about Sarah in the part 1. In this particular episode, or this piece of the episode, we reveal more about what she and Sweet can do together. And also part of this helped to explain why it was that having a broom would not grant you access into Blastfire Bog. Now, I didn't give like a explanation. I didn't do like there's magical interference, or I didn't try to explain it away. It's just it doesn't work. The broom will not fly into the bog. So that was trying to help explain why it is that a broom would not grant you access into the bog. Okay. Yeah, so it was an attempt to explain a thing that is sort of, it's within the prompt list in Apothecaria, but it's not an explained one. So I thought this is just a way to explain it. Okay, so let's talk about the imagination piece. So when I broke up, so first off, I wrote the whole episode, right? So the entire week 11, and which is now chopped into 3 parts. And part 1 was the whole part where Sweet and Bess getting to know each other better. There's the gifts that they're going through that came from Pip in the Here Yet Not Here, which is Alicia's story. And so you could very much consider part 1 is considered more of a rest period. And then parts 2 and 3 are considered more of the cure period, and with still a lot of rest and a lot of story and a lot whatnot that's included in there. So it's, rather chock full. Yeah, so if you wanted to sort of assign rest period and cure period, since that's what we've been doing all along in Apothecaria, it's sort of swapped. So that's one thing. So the going back just to the crocodile guy real quick, I wanted to again bring up the fact that it's young male energy trying to impress 2 women who he doesn't know are true loves, but they sure do. So, yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the pantser section. And the title, The Prompts We Love to Hate, The Prompts We Hate to Love. Yeah, and that's exactly how we felt about the crocodile guy in the denim with the motorboat. Apothecaria is a very pastoral, medieval, light fantasy type of place. It is many, many things, filled with internal combustion engines. No. You can almost assume that the boat itself was not made of wood, but perhaps made of, like, in the southern U.S., they've got those boats that skim across through the bayous and whatnot. You can sort of assume that that would be the case. So where would that be found in a pastoral setting, global setting? Nowhere. And so, yeah, so Alicia and I very quickly found reasons why to hate this prompt, why we loved hating the prompt. And again, as I said, it was actually so bad that it actually, whatever love we had left for Apothecaria, that did it. And we just said, okay, we've had enough and we're moving on. At the same time, the prompt goes in and it works really, really well because it's setting off person from one world, crocodile world, versus people from the pastoral, witchy world, nature-based world, and a real conflict, right? So it's not just simply young male energy trying to impress women, but it's also this conflict between a more industrial world and a more agrarian world. One that's going to be less based on magic, one that's more based on magic. Or at least that's how I'm going to assume it. And so it's taken time for me to begin to love this prompt that I still hate. And so that's sort of the other side of it, right? You use it, it works well. You still want to complain about it. So you love to hate it. And but you hate to love it, but it's there. And you're going to find that with whatever system is out there, right? It's hard to make a system that is 100% consistent, that is going to naturally fit into the settings or the setting that has been established by the guidebook for your particular system. And this is why in Pip's world, so yeah, I am going to keep mentioning Pip's world. This is why in Pip's world, the setting is established by you. and who your character is established by you, and who your traveling companions are is established by you. It's not just simply you have a witch, maybe a familiar. Familiar is a really good idea, but maybe nothing else. We really wanted to build upon, you can have as many people in the story as you want, and they can provide as many things for you as you want, because we're not interested in tracking stats, looking at like reputation and money that you have in Apothecaria, and then also the timekeeping and keeping track of all of the things that happen, in each episode. We're less interested in that. We're more interested in just what do we think is fun and funny. What do we find satisfaction writing about, and what do we want to bring in, regardless of what the guidebook says you can do or can't do. So that was one of the driving inspirations towards Pip's World. So, also love this prompt because it has inspired a entirely new view, at least for us, on how we deal with prompts, how we're making a system of prompts so that you're not stuck with large, ungainly prompts that may or may not fit into the setting. Anyway, okay, so that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover for this video. So let us move over to the drawingXpressions haiku. That's the last line. So, a creative space, holistically supportive. Please like, share, subscribe. Please. And with all that said, thank you so much for being a part of the journey. Thank you so much for listening through, and I hope that I will see you in 2 weeks' time when part 3 to this 3-part episode comes out. So it's just part 3, and then the epilogue, and then it's Pip's World. And for all of that, I hope to see you, and until then, bye for now.